Imagine a special girl, Dominica, being born to educated parents. Mom's a musician and dad's a teacher. Imagine a house where dreams and culture predominate. Keep in mind a girl who tends to rebellion, anger, and impatience. A girl capable of interpreting characters and emotion through colors. This is a special gift that will be useful to her in the future when she has to deal with a regime of which she will assist the sense of justice on her own. At the peak of her dancing career, Dominica will have to leave the dance academy following an accident that is anything but casual. At the same time, the father will die suddenly, and the young will be forced to suffer her life, so much that she will accept, without thinking twice, to work for her uncle, Ivan Egorov, the first deputy director of Soviet Secret Service. Without other possibilities, Dominica will decide to become a Sparrow, a secret agent specialized in sophisticated techniques of seduction and manipulation of the opponent. On the other hand, imagine a completely different young man, Nate, son and nephew of lawyers, who, despite was always destined to follow his path, unlike Dominica, freely chooses how to live his life. Against the opinion of the whole family, he joins the Central Intelligence Agency. Soon, the destinies of the two protagonists will meet. Dominica, in fact, will be in charge of approaching Nate, with the intent to find out who the CIA infiltrator is, the secret services of the KGB, who has long sided with the agent. In a world of deception, passion, and violence, the protagonist will have to choose which side she is on. Red Sparrow is an espionage novel written by Jason Matthew, a former CIA agent who, during his 33 years of career, took part in various covert operations around the world, recruiting spies in Eastern Europe, the Middle and Far East. Today, he lives quiet in California. Inspired by the book, Francis Lawrence directs the film recently released in cinemas. Film which fully respects the magnetic and captivating character of the spy novel written by Matthews, and that, thanks to the interpretation of Jennifer Lawrence in the leading role, acquires even more value. She is seductive, unpredictable, and astute, accompanied by a screenplay that shows not by chance the most trivial details, such as her splendid hair, the fur coats, and the momentum of the legs. In reality, the intent of the writer is to make the succession of some scenes less pungent. Defined by some a movie without elegance, in my opinion only scenes for some details. The absence of scenes that show the Russian food culture, the lack of the thousand shades of color described in the book, which undoubtedly represents Dominica's emotions, and the est with the character of Lawrence identifies her way of salvation the American colleague. It is clear that Jason Matthews' novel portrays a Cold War that does not take place in the 1950s, but nowadays between CIA and Russian intelligence. The author, in fact, is inspired by his experience as a CIA agent to address issues such as passion, danger, corruption, and above all, seduction. Red Sparrow reveals the dangerous world of the spies of the new millennium, able to describe one of the strictest disciplines, whose postulates are the patriotic ideals. It is a book that invites us to think about the current scenario, which urges us to keep in mind a possible new conflict between East and West, thus leading us to see some disturbing things. Signals, such as the conflict in Ukraine, the sanctions imposed by Russia, the growing Russian military presence, and the heavy interference from Moscow in American and European internal politics. It is equally obvious that we are in a different political context from the past. It is no longer an ideological confrontation between East and West, but rather a tug of war between the major European powers. The author invites us to focus more on the intelligence report within Global Threats of 2018. The US Congress then quotes Director of the DNI warns.
Frankly, the United States is under attack by entities that are using cyber to penetrate virtually every major action that takes place in the United States. From U.S. businesses to the federal government to state and local governments, the United States is threatened by cyber attacks every day.
Director Coates also warns Russia might already be trying to meddle in this year's midterms.
We expect Russia to continue using propaganda, social media, false flag personas, sympathetic spokesmen, and other means to influence to try to build on its wide range of operations and exacerbate social and political fissures in the United States. There should be no doubt that Russia perceived that its past efforts as successful and views the 2018 U.S. midterm elections as a potential target for Russian influence operations.
These concepts are approached by the author in an interesting way, thanks to his careful descriptive style, and this shows a waiting to proceed in parallel in telling the stories of the two spies throughout the first half of the novel, then following two separate narrative lines to increase the tension up at the first meeting. I have always loved spy stories, but what prompted me to choose Red Sparrow and consequently to see the movie was to know that the author of the novel practiced the profession of the siege agent himself. A point in favor of the book is certainly the narrative, which is detailed but not boring, as the author manages to make sure that the reader is concretely absorbed in the context, using Russian terms and giving as much space to the cultural part that is makes a nation like Russia, at first glacial, rich in traditions and captivating customs. Another aspect to be appreciated is the choice of a protagonist who is tenacious and cunning, who manages to hide their intentions until the last moment without making anything perceivable. A reading from the sliding rhythm that at the same time is able to fascinate and intrigue thanks to the sincerity of the writer. The strong point of the novel is the desire to address current issues, such as the European and American sociopolitical framework. Without doubt, a book to read, one of those that fascinates you by immersing yourself in a world that appearance deceives, where trust in others involves putting your life at risk, and where every move is calculated. I would recommend this story to those looking for something articulate, full of strategic decisions, petty plots, and cold and impetuous protagonists.